welcome to the BoshNRoll channel. If you want to support my daily Eternal Magic offerings while getting amazing perks like the BoshNRoll Discord community, have me play your deck on the channel, or listen sideboard guides before tournaments, check out the Patreon or YouTube membership program. This channel is possible because of these amazing sponsors. Check them out, all their links are in the video description. As always, thanks for being here. Let's go play some Magic. Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm playing Legacy, and at the request of Patreon subscriber Kari-matti, all the way from Finland. This is their take on 4-color beans. 4-color beans is not a particularly unique or clever deck in the format. I don't know how to say that. The deck's just good. Everyone knows it. And the question is, what do you season your bean soup with? And that's how we get the different versions from different people. And Kari-matti's build comes with 5 basic lands and 4 War of the Spark Planeswalkers. Basics have kind of fallen off in a lot of builds that just want to make sure men is perfect all the time. Especially when you're trying to get domain with leyline binding, it can be hard to support a game plan that plays off basic lands. We've also seen Narset as kind of a maybe sideboard juke or a clever one-of for bean mirrors, where if you can draw cards and your opponent can't, that's very good. And Teferi is close to nowhere in the current Legacy metagame. Both of these were slam dunk Legacy staples, 3 or 4 copies in most decks that could support them for a while there, and that's just not the case anymore, but we've got them both as a pair here in this deck. Win conditions, we've got 1 Triumph, 2 Solitudes, 2 Murktides, 1 4th Aerolingus. That's plenty, I like it. No Mystic Sanctuary. Can't really support that when you have all these non-islands in the deck. So we gotta be careful with our 4th Aerolingus, we only get 1 shot at it. Lots of pitch magic, 2 Force Negations on top of 2 Force of Wills. That's a lot of respect for the kind of tap-out card advantage nature of this build. Generally, if you spend 2 cards to answer one of your opponent's cards, it's not a good deal, unless that card's going to kill you. And adding Force of Negation on top of Force of Will, generally in control decks, I'm just trying to sideboard out Force of Will as soon as I know the matchup is safe to do that. And here we've got 6 forces in the main, but we have 4 Beanstalks and 2 Narset, 2 Teferi, which are incredible things to just shove on turns 2 and 3 to recoup the cards that you lose when you pitch something to force. So I like all of this conceptually. I like that Supreme Verdict is the sweeper of choice that happens to support the 6 forces by also being blue. Lots of fun stuff going on here. And we got a Blood Moon in the sideboard because of all the basics we play. Love it. Okay, that's the deck. Let's jump in. I'm on the play in round 1 with an unfortunate no-lander. 20 lands in the deck. Okay, much happier with this. I will keep a 4 or 5 lander. Perfectly fine in decks like this. I'm going to keep, and I think I bottom Lorien Revealed here, because the best thing Lorien Revealed does is find lands, which I don't need, and if I'm going to cast it for 5 mana, I can do that later on. I'm going to ponder, and I don't know what the matchup is yet. I'm just kind of looking for spells or card draw engines. Narset is one of those 2 things. And I'm going to shuffle away this Flooded Strand I don't want, and I'm going to put Murktide in my hand and hide Narset underneath. Which means I'm not doing anything next turn. I'm playing a land, fetching, and that's my entire turn cycle. But I get to shove Narset the turn after that. If this is a creature deck, Supreme Verdict's ready. If it's a combo deck, we're dead. Mox Opal. Okay, what flavor of this are you? Mox Opal, go. Yikes. Okay, this has to be some sort of combo deck. Or somebody setting up a really big Urza Saga, but wouldn't you play it? What deck would even do this? Is it the Epic Storm that just didn't want to go to discard? Chrome Mox, alright. Evidence that it's the Epic Storm starting to stack up here. Exiling Dark Ritual could still be that. Definitely some kind of Storm deck. Or else what are we doing with all these things and Dark Ritual in there? My hand looks pretty bad here. If they don't go off this turn, and I can put Narset into play, that turns off Echo of Eons as a line, and Narset gets a big look at my 6 forces, and I do have blue cards to pitch. Shield's currently completely down. Hoping I get a turn. So if they're refiring a new Mox Opal, probably not, though. Uh-oh. Yeah, it doesn't look good. Ay, ay, ay. Beseech the Mirror is easily deterministic here. Yep, okay. Well, let's see what they get. Like I said, if it's combo, we're dead. I will give them the chance to mess up. I think the only way they could mess up is if they're worried that I might counter Beseech the second time around, which would be a weird time for me to pick a fight. At Ponder, they'd love Duress or Thoughtseize or Veil of Summer here just to make sure this can't possibly go wrong. They might already have it. They did get to do all this with one card in hand. Storm is 13. And here's the Beseech. And we're just dead here. Going to sideboards. Just want to see the card. Alright, you got me. Like I said, if their combo were dead. Turn 3 Narset. Not fast enough to get it done. Lavinia, Veil of Summer are cards I like. Grafdigger's Cage turns off Echo of Eons and Guy's Will. Meltdown is always kind of on the peripherals here when I play against decks like the Epic Storm. And we didn't even see a land. This could just be Black Saga Storm. But we saw Ponder. So they're at least 2 color. But if they play out some mana rocks and don't win, Meltdown can completely end the game for them. Alright, Swords to Plowshares can come out. Leyline Binding can hit stuff. Teferi's kind of mid, but it does make Veil of Summer a lot better. I think I want all my blue cards. Like the Teferi, Supreme Verdict, Solitude, Leyline Binding are all kind of mediocre here. But some of those cards are blue and some aren't. If I bring in everything that has some text, they're going to have cantrips, which is why I'm thinking about Pyroblast. And they have to remove Lavinia or Grafdigger's Cage somehow, and those effects might be blue. And Echo of Eons might be a big part of their deck. Oh, Stony Silence, this is over here. My brain didn't see that at first. You can stop screaming at your monitors, I found it. Yeah, that card very obviously great in this matchup. I have 1 Verdict partially because it's blue, and 1 Binding left just because there's nothing left to cut, and Binding does find targets in matchups like these. I will do it like this. Now I know the matchup, I can make more informed mulligan decisions. I'll keep this. It's slow, but it is reliable. 2 Ponders, Force Pitch blue card. If I get up the Beanstalk going, that's an engine. And now I have the advantage of fear on my side, where my opponent knows that I know what they're playing. I'm going to shuffle this because it's just not good. My opponent knows that I know what they're playing, where last game they might be able to just send it because it's not getting better. Now they know I mulligan on purpose. They know have sideboard cards in, but they also have sideboard cards in, which means they don't have to shove unless they can shove protected, or if they just don't think it's getting better for me. All right, well, we'll see how this materializes. They might just be turning on Opal to cantrip, or they might actually be trying to storm off here. Okay, Brainstorm, land drop. Drawing Meltdown would be sick here. Now I have a choice, which is stick Beanstalk and try to last a turn, or I could Brainstorm, see a bunch of cards. I think I just want this Beanstalk in play. There's a forest in here I can get with this land. Beanstalk also puts the flag down to my opponent that the game is not getting better for them from here, which incentivizes them to try to go for it, which I do have a force. Like, you don't want to incentivize your opponent to go for it if you're not ready to make a fight out of it. Like, if I didn't have force, I probably wouldn't play Beanstalk there. I think I would have brainstormed. But showing them an engine tells them that they better figure it out quick, or it's not going to get better. Interesting. They drew their card that was off the brainstorm. They could have shuffled and chose not to. I am, unfortunately, locked out of playing Lavinia here because I don't have the right mana. I think I want to Ponder right now. I'd love to find a Force of Will. Second Red Blast, second Beanstalk. There's the basic planes. I am interested in that. Okay, I'm going to put back Beanstalk, Red Blast, Plains, and hope that I survive the turn. Next turn, I'll be really set up. But it's weird that they both didn't want to shuffle their Brainstorm and didn't make a play last turn. That means all the cards in their hand are good. Commercial District, into Misty Rainforest. If they just Beseech the Mirror with Veil up, I can't really beat that. Burning Wish, alright. Just making a wish here. I didn't bring in the Hydroblast. I think Pyro is better than Hydroblast. Oh, yeah. Please don't have Veil. I guess I could force the Veil, then Pyroblast the Echo. They need multiple pieces of disruption here. LED. Send it. Send it. Okay, force the Veil, pitching Brainstorm. 2 cards left. One of them's the Echo. Don't have another Veil, please. Oh my god! Life is pain. Now they draw 2 cards, and we are just friggin' dead. Okay, well, that hurt a lot. And they even drew stuff that they can play out before the Echo. Just free money. Nothing to do here, except hope I don't die. And my hand's terrible. On the other side, great. And these are fresh 7s. Their deck is built to leverage 7s better than mine is. But it's possible they missed. Also, just, you know, fair's fair here. The basic forest that I had to fetch because I had Prismatic Vista meant that I couldn't cast Lavinia, which means that they could cast Lion's Eye Diamond. And they could have veiled proactively to shove LED through the Lavinia. Maybe Lavinia doesn't even change their line, but that was an unfortunate series of events. And part of it is because of the basic heavy mana base, which is good in some matchups and bad in others, and this is a matchup it's bad in. Yeah, they can't possibly screw up from here. GG. Okay, on to the next round. The BoshNRoll channel is proudly partnered with the Resleevables.
Good. All right, here we go, gang.
In this YouTube series, hosts Cedric Phillips and Patrick Sullivan take us on a set-by-set journey through the good, the bad, and the ugly of Magic's history. Each episode is a focused deep dive into the facts about a set's design and release, the Magic lore expressed through the cards in that set, Tournament Edition gameplay videos featuring products and Pro Tour decks of the era, an award show that shouts out the best and weirdest cards of the set, and a final grade for the set's overall success. Whether you want a history lesson or a nostalgia hit, The Resleevables has it at youtube.com/theresleevables. I'm on the play in round 2 versus Splodicopter, who is a member of the BoshNRoll Patreon. Shout out Splodicopter. I'm going to keep this hand with Beanstalk and some forces. Once again, Prismatic Vista, making my hand not capable of having all the colors it would like. I don't need blue mana yet, but someday I will. I'm just going to lead on Vista and pass, see what they're up to. Underground Sea. Uh-oh. Dangerous. Lion's Eye Diamond. Okay, I'm ready for this. Breakthrough. Oh, we're dredging. Yikes. Priority was passed on the breakthrough, though, which makes this harder for me. I'm going to force a negation the breakthrough. If they force back, then crack LED, this is going to be the biggest bait in history. Okay, breakthrough is countered. Could still sack LED and cast Faithless Looting, and I'm way behind. Honestly, if I knew they were dredge, I would have just forced the LED, which might not have worked out great for me here, knowing that they also had breakthrough, but that is generally how I play against dredge. Okay, I found access to blue, but more importantly, I found a blue card to pitch to this Force of Will that can pop with this Beanstalk. I actually don't know how important that's going to be. We'll see if there's a follow-up Giant Enabler spell. Might just crack LED and start slow dredging, which my hand is not good against currently. More forces. That means I get to keep luring revealed if I have to force something. Cephalid Coliseum. And LED was busted. I mean, we knew that already. I'm going to Force of Will the Faithless Looting because I do want to get a draw, and I'm going to pitch the Force of Negation because we're basically done countering spells here. I have to catch up somehow. And there's now a Poxwalkers coming into play. Cephalid Coliseum's online next turn. I think I'm too far behind to actually compete in this game, which might seem wild considering I have a Beanstalk in play and my land's under me and just feeling generally reasonable, but they can send so hard here. I'm going to fetch Volcanic Island and then cast Brainstorm. If I find Swords to Plowshares, I can take out this Poxwalkers Like, normally this would be good, but right now it barely is. I think I'm still going to hold on to it, though, because Triumph is the type of thing that can maybe catch up with what they're doing. If there's just kind of a bad dredge, maybe the Grave Troll whiffs, and there's just no dredgers. That's the out I'm playing to at this point. Okay, moment of truth. What is Grave Troll gonna facilitate here? No dredgers. Wow. Okay. There is another Poxwalkers and 2 Cabal Therapies, though. And you could still draw 3, discard 3. If that's what you want to do. But this was a huge... Oh, no. You could just Cabal Therapy yourself and then activate. Yeah, okay. Poxwalk or Cabal Therapy. Yeah, targeting yourself. Yep. They saw the line. Never mind. Didn't matter. We're heckin' dead. Poxwalkers. Poxwalkers. Therapy yourself. Name Troll. You end up with exactly 7 cards in the graveyard. Frustrating, but good. Yep. Okay, here comes half the deck. Satoru, the Infiltrators in this deck. Narcomoeba. 2 Narcomoebas. I don't see any Bridge from Belows. This is good news. They said in the chat, yikes, missing damage over here. I mean, yeah, it could have attacked with Poxwalkers first. When they didn't, I just assumed it was a dredge build with some sort of haste setup in it, where you don't necessarily want to go to combat before you dredge 85 cards. All right, Triumph is kind of big and bad on this board somehow. And they are hellbent and slow dredging, whatever that's worth. But the answer is not much, by the way. Yes, Satoru is insane. If 1 or more non-token creatures enter the battlefield under your control, if none of them were cast or no mana was spent to cast them, draw a card. So you replace that draw with a dredge, which then might have more Narcomoebas or Poxwalkers, and you replace those draws with dredges, and off you go, around and around. If they're relegated to slow dredging here, there's some universe where my 5/5 lifelink might keep me alive long enough where Supreme Verdict actually is reasonable counterplay for what they're doing. They found a bridge, another Narcomoeba. Now they can just machine gun Cabal Therapies. Or is there only one left? All right, there's only one left. Another Poxwalker was found, though. If the Poxwalkers attack, I'm going to block. Okay, no attacks. We're in second main now. And just passing. Okay. Not worried about my hand, it seems. Might be a reasonable bet given the texture of the matchup here. No attacks with Narcomoeba either. I guess if I attack and try to get lifelink, you can just quintuple block and get 5 zombies. Or double block with Poxwalkers, get 2 zombies, and Triumph is dead. Okay, so I could just fire Lorien Revealed here, draw 5 cards, which I am tempted by. You know me. I could also play Teferi, bounce a Poxwalker, because the hand is the worst place for that card to be. Teferi just dies to Narcomoeba Beats on the following turn. I think I want to draw 5 cards. I'll get Tundra, and trigger, 1, 2, 3. Narset doesn't matter. Many things don't matter. That's the twisted joke against Dredge. If they're worried about Triumph, though, I'm going to keep holding it back. Discard Vista. Flooded Strand gets the Xander's Lounge. Okay, Dredged for turn, Narcomoeba and another bridge. That's 2 bridges in there. The army can start going wide if it wants to. There's still no giant banger like a Bear Mom or... Okay, here comes the damage. I am going to block with Triumph, because that will kill all the bridges, even if they get a couple zombies also. But clearing the bridges out, especially if there's 2 of them, especially if my plan is to draw a Supreme Verdict and deck them by running them out of threats. These are all things that benefit me. Uh-oh, I think they stacked their triggers backwards and they're going to get no zombies here. Yeah, that's awkward. This is an intervening if clause, which means that the conditions have to be true. They commented on the triggers in this deck. But yeah, that's an important one to get right. I also think they should have been really aggressive with those therapies, just go super wide on zombies. And now the therapies just over there. I have a handful of white removal, which actually is good against Dredge's threats, where most things are not. I'm going to go Narset. And I'll play Flooded Strand, which can get Xander's Lounge, and then exile Poxwalkers, exile something else, draw 4 cards is available to me. I don't think I want to activate Narset because she just doesn't matter in terms of how these decks or their deck functions, because they're not going to draw any cards. They're just going to dredge all the time, and there's nothing to stop. Oh dear, there's a Thassa's Oracle in this build. Okay, this just got dicey. That means there's going to be a reanimation effect. There's no Dread Return in here now. Okay, they are trying to get themselves empty. I can't worry about, I can't lean on stopping all their threats as a win con. Okay, pushing all the damage at me, which is kind of what I wanted. What I want is Narset in play next turn to dig for Supreme Verdict and do it all when it's a surprise. I'm definitely going to leyline bind this Poxwalkers though. I don't want this thing in play, and I do want it in exile. Solitude, that can kill bridges. Supreme Verdict, back to stability. Kind of. I'm at 10 life, and there's a Thassa's Oracle in the graveyard. I would love one of those Force Negations that my deck allegedly has. Have I used both already? Yes, I have. Never mind. Okay. Dang, what do I do against Thassa's Oracle? Checking the list. If they're not quite empty, Solitude or Plow or Binding can clear it. But there's 3 therapies still in the deck. 2 currently in the graveyard. I guess if you have no creatures to flash back with, that is a weakness of therapy. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I'm currently good for 10 on a 4th Aerolingus, which is not enough to win. I could play Teferi and Supreme Verdict on their turn. What does that do? Basically just gives them a chance to dredge and do more bridges. Not really interested in that. There are 3 Force of Will still on my deck, and there's probably 1 Dread Return in here somewhere. Yeah, I think having no creatures to Dread Return with is probably the best defense I have right now. Let's take out all these suckers. And that's all 4 Narcomoebas. Narset can dig, because now they can't Cabal Therapy. Trying to solve the dredge puzzle in game 1 when you have no bangers to dig for is always such a wild ride. Okay, I found another Beanstalk. Careful not to deck myself. I believe there's still a Savannah in my deck. Ooh, they've had enough. Okay. All right. I think that game could have been played very differently, but also their build, and it's just kind of like random dredge RNG came up quite a bit there, where like that first troll didn't hit a dredger, which would have made things easy, and then there were no bridges until I had mana up to fight them. Okay, Containment Priest, Lavinia, Graph Tigger's Cage, Doorkeeper Thrall. This stops Satoru, right? I think so. I have to reread Satoru real quick. Yes, that is a enters the battlefield situation. I think I like Reb and Pyro versus the breakthrough careful study version of Dredge that we're playing against. Veil of Summer stops Cabal Therapies for a turn, which might be all I need if we get to a point where Thassa's Oracle is the win con. Okay, now how do I sideboard out? I don't actually think I want 2 Supreme Verdicts. I don't think Teferi does anything. In getting Supreme Verdict dead instant speed can stop haste wins and stuff, but I don't think that matters. Up the Beanstalk can come out because this matchup's really fast. I love Solitude for the ability to clear bridges while exiling a Poxwalker. That's kind of the nuts. Swords of Plowshares is good once I can clear bridges, but I don't love it before that point. I'm going to shave on some of this white spot removal, even though it is going to be part of the plan eventually. But I have to get to the point where those cards are good before I can start counting them. Maybe Triumph sucks. It's just a big body, and if I'm gonna like win or lose this game by a lot. So I think bringing in these 9 cards, I think a sideboard card is better than a random 5/5 in my deck. I'm either gonna stop what they're doing and clean up with whatever I have left, or I'm gonna get run over. Okay, I do have the ability to pass a force check on turn 0, and then I can ponder and see what happens after that. I will keep this. This is the only Supreme Verdict in my deck. Underground Sea. Force the Careful Study. I should have taken a closer look at their graveyard. I don't even know if there's Force of Wills and Dazes in their deck or not, which is something I should 100% know at this point after seeing 40 of the cards out of their deck last game. Ooh, nasty. Okay, I'm going to play Flooded Strand and pass. Instead of pondering, if there's a second wave here, a breakthrough or whatever, I'd like to attack that as well. Because Dredge opening hands have to contain enabler of some sort, a dredger to put into the graveyard. Oh, wow. Yeah, sure. I guess I just grab the Xander's Lounge here then, if that's what's happening. So Dredge opening hands, especially in these mana builds that have spells, they need a spell, something to do with that spell, which is usually dredgers, and then mana to cast that spell. And if you fend off the first couple pieces of that puzzle, sometimes they just fail. And the dredge deck has a lot of air in it if it's not dredging. Like, you don't usually want Poxwalkers in your hand, for example. You never want to hardcast a Narcomoeba. That's not a sign things are going well. Cephalid Coliseum with the 1 card in the graveyard. Breakthrough X equals 1. Force that. Doing my best to fend off these shenanigans. I'm not going to plow Narcomoeba yet. I have plenty of life to work with, and I'm much more worried about a Poxwalkers or an Icarid than I am a Narcomoeba. Okay, fetch land still stinking out here. I mean, that's the flip side of forcing 2 things. Like I said in the deck tech, Force of Will, generally a bad deal using 2 cards to answer one of your opponents if they're not going to kill you, but I think there's a good chance Careful Study and Breakthrough would have killed me. There's more blue mana in the pool. This is going to stink. Please just cast a Poxwalkers that I can plow. Cabal Therapy. I'm just going to plow Narcomoeba now, because they could just flashback the Cabal Therapy naming Swords to Plowshares if they want it gone. And if they randomly somehow Miracle Spike it on the front, I'm just going to feel so bad about that. And now you have to miss because my hand is no real cards. But I'm a Brainstorm deck, which means I can fix that. Cabal Therapy, naming Ponder. Safe bet, knowing your opponent, but I probably would have cast Ponder by now. Another Coliseum. And the coast is clear. It didn't name Force of Will, though, which means I don't think there's another good card in hand. Yeah, just another Narcomoeba. All right, deck, give me something to start to flip the tide here. Some draw engine, some turnaround. Like I said, I'm a Brainstorm deck, so I can change a crappy hand at any time. Basically, it will. Put back Forest and Island. Then fetch. I think I'm gonna get... Does Trop matter? Yeah, I have Veil of Summer in my deck. I'm gonna Brainstorm again now. I have enough pieces of hate in the deck, and I still have a land drop, and we're in my main phase. Like, if I find Lavinia, Containment Priest, you know, all of the above. We'll take it. Okay, how do I stack these? Solitude the farthest from relevant, and I'll hide Lavinia on top of that, and play Tundra and pass. Lavinia versus Priest is close. I think they're both really bad for my opponent, but Priest stops their deck from functioning, even if they can cast their spells, where Lavinia stops them from casting spells, but they do have functional things like Narcomoeba and Poxwalkers. Like, you could still Flashback Therapy under Lavinia. It'll just get countered, but you have cast a spell from your graveyard for the purposes of Poxwalkers. Taking 1 here. I would love for them to Flashback Therapy. Didn't do it. Time for a Priest. We're in there with that. Keep the hits coming with a Lavinia on top of it. Suddenly, we went from hoping to draw something good to miles ahead. Ooh, something's happening. Oh, I tapped out a white, and I didn't have to. If they have some just, like, random bounce spell, I get blown out here. Something's happening. Oh, floating black and passing priority. Are they just messing with me? What's going on here? Now we have blue in the pool from Cephalid Coliseums. Change your mind? Oh, okay. Maybe realize that whatever they were trying to do doesn't work here. Weird match, difficult match. I'm lucky to get away with that one. On to the next round.
This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and everything else you'll see on this channel. There's multiple customizations so you can interact with your deck how you want. Views such as text, grid, or stacks, and groupings like type, subtype, color, color identity, even artist. The site offers light mode, dark mode, and so much more. However you want to see your deck, Moxfield can provide it for you. Follow my Moxfield to keep up with the channel and what I'm playing in paper. I'll see you there. I'm on the draw in round 3, and I'm going to have to mulligan this super awkward hand. With 20 lands, 8 1-mana cantrips, and 2 Beanstalks, there's like 32 cards I'm happy to have in an opening hand, and then 6 forces, so there's like 38 cards I'm happy to have in an opening hand, and there is one of those 38 cards in this hand. Gonna mulligan. Okay, much happier with this. Gonna bottom 4th Aerolingus. I'll keep my hand and put the Lingus to the bottom. Opponent said Eternal Glory is the bomb, by the way. That's my podcast. Everybody would check out the Eternal Glory podcast if you're not already a listener. They mull to 6 and have a game 1 Leyline of the Void. This has to be some black stompy deck of some variety. Thoughtseize. Whether they take Binding or Beanstalk will tell me a lot here. If they take Beanstalk, they're worried about a longer game. If they take Binding, then they need this Leyline in play for whatever their combo is. They took Beanstalk, so they are planning to play a couple turns of this game. That's good news for me. Misty Rainforest, that's good, because that means I can fetch now. I don't really expect this to be a wasteland strategy, so I'm going to get Tropical Island, which alongside Plains and Volcanic Island gets me Domain. Force a Negation, just in case. I'll put that in the bank with a Brainstorm under it. Blooded Strand, Ponder. Could this just be some hyper inbred scam deck with main deck Leyline of the Void to beat the Mirror? I hope not. That would be so weird. Not interested in playing that matchup, please. There's another land on top of my deck right now. They know about Plains. They don't know about these 3 cards. And technically, they wouldn't know if I cast this one because I play Matching Arts. So they don't. There's these 2 cards that they don't know I have. I'm going to play Misty Rainforest. I would need Plateau or Scrubland in the deck to turn on Binding from this fetch land, and Misty Rainforest doesn't get either of those cards anyway. So my opponent knows they're safe from Leyline Binding here. Shadowy Backstreet, Esper confirmed, been to Scrubland. Caracas, alright. Now what? Rafine, oh my goodness. Alright. Big fan of what's going on here. Rafine, Scheming Seer. I love this card in casual formats, and also I've been playing Standard to prepare for the RC lately. It's a banger there too, believe it or not. Okay, I would like to have Beanstalk in play before I Leyline Bind, but because Rafine has Ward 1, I can't do all that this turn, and if I don't do it this turn, it might never happen because there's a Caracas in play. Which means I'm going to put back Basic Forest and Force of Negation and fetch Sanders Lounge. And I'm just going to bind to this Rafine while I can. Boop. Ward 1. I would like to pay, please. Okay, hope that's important. Main deck Leyline, basically locking this Murktide region into being a 7-mana 3/3 or a pitch to force or raw cardboard for Brainstorm. Have to assume Bowmaster's in this deck, just based on the colors and what's going on there. Brainstorm, no land drop, no play. Like I said, Bowmaster no play doesn't mean they have nothing to do here. Binding makes my life much better. Play the fetch land first so I can answer a Bowmaster if they have one. Beanstalk's in, no Bowmaster to be seen. We're in business, team. I could Leyline Bind this Leyline of the Void, Flavor Judge. That's no objections to that line, and then start filling my graveyard for Murktide. Kind of interested in that. It's a little aggressive in terms of I don't know what this deck is, and I'm using a wide open removal spell on something that is tertiary to what's going on. It's okay, I just can't trip into another one. But I could see arguments that that was wrong to do. I would entertain them. It's turn 4. I'm going to put Brainstorm in my hand and up the Beanstalk under it. I'm getting so close to just drawing 4 or 5 cards a turn that I'm ready to get set up. And if there is a Helm combo or something, I did just take the Leyline. So that would be a crazy card to just have in your main deck to be pre-boarded against the format if you're not actually using it in any kind of way. They found a land off another Brainstorm, which means they were just genuinely Brainstorm locked last turn. Okay, this Beanstalk means this Leyline is good for a million cards. Oh, we're a Force of Will deck all of a sudden. Disappointing.
I could brainstorm and see if I spike a Force of Will. Yeah, I think this is worth a fight. And I can still answer Bowmaster if they want to zap in off this brainstorm. Okay, we didn't get there. Lauren Revealed's a hater, though. I'm going to tuck the Murktide back and hide one of the brainstorms. And then you win the fight over Beans. But they are now down to one card in hand that we're pretty sure is not Orcish Bowmaster. Oh no! Another one. Okay, what do I do about this? 3, 4, 5. I can just brainstorm in response, then fetch, and then play Murktide, and then I don't care about this anymore. Put back, plow, and brainstorm, and then fetch. Get basic island. Yeah, that's enough to Murktide off of. I'm cool. And then the Beanstalk will start refilling. Blue, blue. I could even spend more mana on the Murktide to leave cards in my graveyard for the other Murktide, but I don't think I have to do that. Allowed. Okay. I have other win cons in the deck. It's fine. And I'm about to Lauren Revealed for 4 cards. I think I want to fetch first. Get my lands all set up. Don't really need Volcanic Island, but I'll get it anyway just in case they decide to be a Wasteland deck. Drawing 4 cards. And I'll play... There is another Plains in the deck, which means I could ponder this turn without tapping out of white. Force of Negation to Fairy. I like these. Force of Negation starts covering my bases for how I can lose. And now it's just a how long will it take me to draw 4th Aerolingus game. Another Leyline. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to play to Fairy and bounce the Leyline that has Leyline of the Void under it because I no longer care that that card is not in play, if I ever did at all. Sweet. I did just draw the Plains, which means I should fetch now before I accidentally draw my last fetchable source off that. Yep, just waiting for a win con. That's a win con. Slowly but surely. I have to imagine this is some sort of scammer reanimator deck. Graphene is so specific. There's better ways to get card advantage in Legacy, because Graphene doesn't even provide card advantage, she provides selection. So you must be using the graveyard somehow. Healthy Voidwalker. I'm holding roughly 8,000 answers to that, including this one. I'm going to Supreme Verdict in the end step. Probably should have Solituded so I could start attacking. Okay, the Lingus. Alright. I don't think they could be 4th Aerolingus. I'm just going to shove it for the maximum number that I'm allowed by law. Oh, that's literally lethal because there are 14. That's the correct number. 7 horses. Yeah, I definitely should have Solituded the Voidwalker, but whoops. We're pretty locked up there. Okay, I'm still not sure what their deck does. I am pretty sure I want Veil of Summer. They looked really soft to Blood Moon. This has to be a Helm Leyline deck, because we saw a main deck Leyline with the Void and Dothy Voidwalker, unless they just really hate losing to Scam, which is a reasonable position to have. Did see some blue cards. I saw Rafine and Force of Will. It's awkward because they are this creaturey deck, but I'm also highly confident that they have a combo kill. If I board out Murktide, how many ways do I have left to win? It's Lingus, Triumph, 2 Solitudes, and I'm boarding in Doorkeeper, Thrall, and Containment Priest. I want to shave 1 Force of Will. I'm definitely cutting the negations. I think I like the Beanstalks. I like the Bindings. Binding's a lot worse if I'm casting my own Blood Moon, but I could still have 4. And if they're not casting spells at all, that's fine. I have to imagine Grief, Bowmaster are in this deck that I haven't seen yet. Yeah, I think I'm going to cut another Teferi. What just happened? Oh, I made a pile forgetting about Murktide, so I actually get 2 of these cards back. I was agonizing over something that I actually just still get to keep. Maybe I'll keep a Force and a Teferi. Teferi being a nice generic answer to something like Leyline of the Void, if I don't want to dedicate specific resources to it, and being pretty confident there's a combo in their deck somewhere. Force of Will's never that bad. I just love boarding it out if I can. I am going to keep this hand. It's pretty awkward and clunky. I hate that the 4th Aerolingus is in the opening hand, because if they discard it into the Void, it's gone. If they discard it not into the Void, it's gone. I have no way to recoup Graveyard. But I do like this hand's ability to fend off various hate bears and junk.
I think I'm just playing planes here. We've seen Dothy Voidwalker. We expect Orcish Bowmaster. If they play Grief, I can zap it while it's still in play. And they still get some cards, but at least Grief's gone and can't be reanimated. Fetched a Shadowy Backstreet in the end step. And kept their card. Underground Sea, Voidwalker. Clear that immediately. Should have waited for the end step. They're a Grief deck. A Drawing Forest is good. Now I can drop this in without having to spend a fetch on it. I drew both Red Blasts that I brought in just for the fringe case where they have like a Force of Will. I tapped out for the Red Blast on the turn that kept the blue card. We've still seen Rafine. Happy to Red Blast that. I can fetch Basic Island and Leyline Binding for the full 3 next turn. I could fetch a duel and do it for 2. Thoughtseize, please take Binding, please take Binding. If they take this Lingus, it will be really slow going to win. Okay, Binding's gone. Another Beanstalk. I'm going to play that. Nice. All right. Replace the card they Thoughtseize, the old Moto Thoughtseize bug. If the 2 cards in their hand are Dark Ritual, Helm of Obedience, they're going to win. If I get to untap one more time, the Binding does so much. They're passing. I'm not just going to fetch into an opposition agent. I'll just take my draw, hit my land drop, and pass from here. End step fetch. Kept the card. I'm going to fetch now while I can't get oppoed. At least not for 1 card. Xander's Lounge completes my domain. Oh shit, this means I can't Pyroblast though. That might have been a bad fetch. Okay. Yeah, that fetch might have been aggressive and unnecessary. I'm playing around oppo that I had beat with Plow anyway. And that cascaded into fetching Island, which means I can't bind plus Plow this turn if I need to do that. And yeah, here's Snapcaster Mage that I would have loved to Red Blast, but I'm a donkey. They're Thoughtseizing me. I'll respond to this by binding the Leyline of the Void. If I draw Veil of Summer, I drew Force Blue card, which I would have probably should have planned to counter the Snapcaster Mage with. I'll still force the Thoughtseize though. This is sloppy as hell, but it's going to work because I have 2 Beanstalks in play and Magic's easy when those conditions are true. Draw, draw. I don't deserve this, but there it is. If they force back and Thoughtseize this hand, I don't even mind. Okie dokie. I'm going to play Teferi. Bounce the Snapcaster. Generally not a thing you want to be bouncing, but I think in this case with double Red Blast in hand, it's fine. I just don't want them to have a creature in play when I Lingus. I don't want to have to navigate how many horses do I leave back so I don't lose the Monarch, blah, blah, blah. I just want to send it and horse the hell out of them. Horse their smelly face off. And last turn ended up so weird because I was doing a dopey thing, which was playing around a card that A, I haven't seen yet, and B, I also had covered another way, and just letting them have an awesome turn that required me to sputter and figure it out when I otherwise didn't need to do that, just to recoup from my own awkward play. And the lesson there is playing with the fear. Play around things that are reasonable to play around, but playing with fear means you're just making bad decisions because you're worried about every card your opponent could conceivably have. Okay, I am going to Red Blast this Ponder because what I was worried about Red Blasting on the Brainstorm was if they go land snap something and get value out of that. Baleful Strix is fine. Just going to plow it. They have Snapcaster and 2 unknowns in their hand. My horses are about to gallop. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. If I horse for exactly what I have now, I could draw a land that represents Pyroblast. I don't think I care, though. Yeah, I think I'm just going to horse for the max right now and hope they don't pivot onto some kind of sudden game-ending reanimator strategy. This is good for 2 cards on cast, and then the Monarchy. Force. Beans. Monarch could still draw a blue card, and then it would be hard to lose. Giddy up. Monarch. Blue card? Nope. Alright, so the shields are down if they have some giant game-ending reanimator bullet pivot thing in their deck. Helm of Obedience. Okay, confirmed that that card's in the deck, but I currently don't care about it. Plus Teferi.
I drew a blue card for Force, which makes life awesome. Means I can bean here, drop, gallop with my horses. Okay, they're dead next turn, and I have Force of Will to counter or double force. I now have double force thanks to the Monarch. I had a force that was going to triple cantrip. I just need to make sure they don't get a leyline into play right now. And it would be hard to do from 3 cards, one of them Snapcaster, through my double force. This is a cool deck. I wonder how good Rafine actually is, but the deck is sweet. I don't care about Snapcaster Mage. They can ponder and brainstorm till their heart's content. I'll probably make them commit the mana and then Pyroblast the Ponder. And now if their hand is even Dark Ritual plus Leyline isn't enough, Dark Ritual plus Voidwalker would be enough. I'm just going to force this thing. I'm not going to risk Lotus Petal out of their hand. And we got the GGs. Yeah, I just had too many engines online. They weren't going to sneak something like this past me. Okay. Good lesson from this game. One of them is adjusting on the fly based on information your opponent's given you. We didn't see Helm of Obedience until the end of the last game, but we were pretty sure they were a Helm Leyline deck the whole time because Leyline of the Void just doesn't go in main decks without this card. And also playing scared around a card that I had covered and ended up getting kind of got by a Snapcaster with double Pyroblast in my hand because I fetched Xander's Lounge for no real reason. Another lesson there. A good thing I did and a bad thing I did. On to the next round.
Welcome to TopDeck.gg, your community's home for everything competitive Magic has to offer. If you're hosting an event, playing for a huge prize, or advertising your events to thousands of players, we've got you covered. Using intuitive pairing software, playing Magic is a breeze. Players just have to sign up online, then scan the QR code in-store. Give competitors the gift of perfect information as their bracket updates in real time. The self-reporting software saves you time and leaves paper match slips in the past. Leave the heavy lifting to TopDeck.gg so your community can relax and focus on playing Magic.
On the play for round 4, I'm going to keep because, you guessed it, Ponder's in my hand. The card I most want to draw is Beanstalk with this hand that I have of 5-drop pitch spell, 5-drop pitch spell, or just 6-drop draw card spell, which means I would want to fetch Tropical Island if I knew everything was going to go right. If they're a Wasteland deck, that could be super risky, and there's no way to know. I will live up to both my brand and the construction of this deck and get the basic land. Another basic plains doesn't actually help me do anything here. Swords of Plowshares is good. I think I actually have to shuffle this. This just doesn't cast my spells at all. Shuffle. 4th Airlingus, that's even worse. Okay, here we go. Hard mode activated. Blue-white gamers know this life. Sometimes you just can't cast your spells. Please be a Wasteland deck, or else I'll be bummed that I took this line. Savannah. Frequently Wasteland and Savannah go next to each other. Lava Spur Boots. I'll let them have that. Mox Diamond, bummer. I'm not going to force that, but I am bummed about it. This looks like Green-White Depths. Definitely a Wasteland deck. No regrets. Ponder. Hey, look at that. It's all of the cards I want in basically the order that I would want them. It's a little awkward, actually. I can't have the Beanstalk if I get the Plow this turn. Okay, I'm going to stack it like this, and I'll float the plains out there to make them respect Plow. I don't have it yet, but if they are just trying to zoom out a Merit Lage, I want them to pump the brakes a little, and then next turn I can Beanstalk draw the Plow. That's how I get all of them in the correct order. Oh, Yavimaya just giving me green anyway. I wasted my luck drawing this forest. Okay, they're passing the turn. Yavimaya go. All right, I'll take that. That means I get a Beanstalk, and I get to hold up Swords of Plowshares and Force and Solitude. It's a lot of juice to be holding in one small cup. I am worried about Urza's Saga, which I imagine is in this deck. Oh, or just lands, not even depths. Okay, just lands. Okay. I am worried about Urza's Saga. Tabernacle's really good against 4th Airlingus. Okay, Lorien revealed. Do I want to... Yes, I'm just going to get Narset into play here. And I'm going to get Volcanic Island to do it because I would like to work on my domain. If they do have a Wasteland, fine. Narset finds Re-Narset or Brainstorm. What would I rather have? I think Brainstorm. I needed a blue card to keep Force up, just in case there's a flurry of crop rotations that result in a 2020 with haste. Speaking of which, there's a crop rotation. I'm just going to force that because even though I'm not worried about Merit Lage in this spot, I'm extremely worried about Urza Saga. Life from the Loam, bummer. All right, that card's really good, and I'm not ready for it. And they had the Wasteland. Wasteland Loam means I actually can't get red mana this game unless I convince them not to play a Wasteland one turn. Narset activation, grab Leyline Binding, play Flooded Strand. Okay, so we'll see how aggressively they want to dredge here. I think what I'm going to have to do is fetch End Step Xander's Lounge. Now they have Rashadan Port and Beseiju. Okay, they're just full loaming here. Got back Wasteland, Beseiju, and Depths. Play the Depths, okay? Beseiju targeting my Beanstalk. Alright, I will respond to this. They've already made their land drop, which means I can fetch the Xander's Lounge, Leyline Binding the Mox Diamond, and hopefully cut them off some action, and then turn around and horse their face off. Knock out Mox Diamond. Beseiju also gives me a land. Yeah, I'll get Tundra. I could take out Boots here too. Yeah, I kind of want to do that. If Merit Lage doesn't have haste, life gets so much easier. And if they spend any effort at all Besejuing these things, I'm fine with that. Alright, 4th Aerolingus. Send it. I know they have Tabernacle. It's fine. I can pay for some number of horses or just get the Monarch and overwhelm them and pay for no horses. There are Force of Negations in my deck if I come up with one to break up this Loam cycle. Oh wow, they're just done. Okay, sweet. Alright, we're playing against lands. Blood Moon, first and most obvious addition. Meltdown comes in. Lava Spur Boots, Urza Saga, Mox Diamond. I don't think we necessarily need Stony Silence. There's not much going on here, though. There's not even like a Surgical Extraction or an Endurance, which are things I would like against this deck. I think Supreme Verdict gets replaced by Meltdown, because the creatures I need to kill are the artifacts. I might have to do it twice. I'll start by cutting one Supreme Verdict, then we'll see how things look. Plow is good against Merit Lage, but I have a lot of white removal in this deck. And that could just be it. I don't like having 6 Force of Wills in versus lands. I like Force of Negation, that breaks up Loam. I could go 3 Plows, 3 Forces, plus the 2 Negations. Does Lavinia do anything? Probably not. She can blank Force of Vigor. She also gets bounced by Caracas, which is definitely a card they have. And maybe just because I'm interested in shaving another Plow out of the deck, I can go 50-50. Yeah, I'll just try 1 Lavinia, see what happens. Blood Moon is really the only super good card I have here. This is a turn 2 Beanstalk, doesn't really interact. It has the Lingus, so I can turn the corner quickly if I need to. Saga, right off the jump. Mox Diamond, okay. Is there going to be a Sphere? Shadow Spear, okay. This start is extremely susceptible to Meltdown if I could come up with one of those. That's not bad either. Okay, I'll play Island and pass. I was hoping to get Tropical Island with this Lorien revealed, but I think now it has to be Tundra. Savannah. I could Brainstorm. There's a little risk to that. If I find a fetch land, it's better than cycling Lorien. If I miss, then I don't get to Stony Silence. What actually are my hit rates here? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14. So 1 out of every 3.5 cards roughly is a hit, and I get to see 3 cards. I think I'm just going to cycle the Lorien. Get Tundra. My hand's going to suck against Wasteland no matter what I do here. Did find a fetch land. Alright, let's play this. They could get 1 construct in response. They can't get another construct without additional counterplay. This turns off the Mox Diamond and the Shadow Spear, stops the second construct, and then whatever comes out of this saga can't have an activated ability either. I usually don't bring in Null Rods versus lands.
and this is a fun experiment because the bench is so shallow of cards I'd actually want to play. We get to run this one. They got Expedition Map. It might just because there's nothing better to get, or they might have Beseju to clear this and then continue with their turn as planned. Another artifact. They do have a 5/5 in play, though. I'm going to have to beat that somehow. I could pitch Lingus to Solitude and just clear it. That is available. Okay, I'm going to fetch... Oh, I could Brainstorm first. I'm going to Brainstorm, then fetch. Yeah, all right. Brainstorm. That's a lot more white cards. If I put back... Nope. I can't put back Xander's Lounge because I got a basic land earlier. I could just take 5. If I put back Lounge and Triumph, I'll just have Triumph in my deck for later. Fetch Basic Forest, play up the Beanstalk. Now my Solitude's a cantrip. I can afford to go to 9 here. Redraw the Xander's Lounge anyway. Motobug. Okay, that is Auto Domain next turn, though. Yeah, opponent's going to need something really good here. Wasteland's pretty effective in this spot. Saga's okay. That lets them keep playing after I answer this construct. But I am going to get to answer this construct free and easy. I guess they could Beseju, but then I can Solitude. It's fine. Yeah, if they're going to Beseju my Leyline Binding in response to its trigger, I want to make that happen on their turn. So I'll just go to their upkeep and bind this now. Because Binding reads, exile the thing until Binding leaves play. Which, if it leaves play before the thing ever leaves, it never leaves, which means tokens can be saved from it. But if they want to Beseju me here, it taps them out of another Saga construct and ramps me. It's not a good deal all around. Force Integration is a great pickup because now I have Loam covered. I just have to be able to beat these 2 constructs, and I'm looking good. And I have Solitude that can start doing that. Okay, sweet. I feel like the Stony Silence is an absolute unit right now. I'm just going to pass and use Solitude to fend off the Saga business. They get a construct. They're going to have a lot of life, but I am not going to lose to a parade of 5/5s here. That's pretty well covered in my handful of cantrip and white removal. Okay, they have committed to the construct. I'm going to Solitude now, before the construct gets any bigger and gains them more life. Ooh, when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie. If they don't Wasteland my Xander's Lounge right now, I'm going to moon them into hell. Then they would need Force of Vigor to get out of what I've got going on here. Soul Guide Lantern, picking off Lorien Revealed. I don't use my graveyard, but that does literally have the text of doing anything, which most artifacts don't right now. Draw for turn. Can I get another basic into play before I lose everything here? I'm going to Brainstorm to find out. Force of Vigor in response. Okay, so they did have it. Luckily for me, I can counter this, or I'm actually going to bind their construct first, get the draw, and then I'll counter this. And that does tap me out of Blood Moon for the turn. I can put back Triumph. Okay, yeah, next turn I can flip Triumph and play Blood Moon. If they come up with a Espion Stage, I still have Plow. They got 1 draw step here to flip this game. Crucible of Worlds. All right, well, that just... I'm going to wipe out this Urza Saga immediately. That is an artifact that has text, though. Please play Saga. Oh, they played Blast Zone. That's almost smart, except it doesn't matter because of Blood Moon. Okay, here is Miracle Triumph. Get this card draw, have exactly enough mana to do this plus Blood Moon, and then Lifelink Squad, beat up this double locked opponent. Can we get a scoop? Yes, we can. Stony Silence was insane. I still don't know that in decks with more card slots dedicated to matchups like this that you'd want to bring in your Null effect, but against this hand they kept, look at this, pretty good. On to the final round. The NYSE Open is a prestigious, long-running vintage tournament based out of New York City. It's returning again this summer, June 22nd, 2024 in Plainview, New York. This 15 proxy event has a $500 entry. That's a lot of money, but what are we playing for? First place gets a Black Lotus. Second through 8th place get Time Twister, Time Walk, and all 5 Moxen. At 115 players, a playset of Bazaar Baghdad is added to the prize pool. At 135, 4 Mishra's Workshops. At 155, 4 Foil Gaia's Cradle. This prize pool is better than Eternal Weekend. If you think it's worth playing for, sign up for the event on melee.gg or use the link in the video description, and I will definitely see you there. On the draw for the final round, I'm going to keep this. Positive Records locked. Bread and Butter 4-1 on the line. Tropical Island Ponder. Could be some bug beans over there. Could be a 4-color bean mirror situation. They shuffled their library. Okay, there's a bean for me. That's good news. I would like to continue developing my mana with this ponder. Okay, I found mana and more beans. Do I need 3 beans? Probably not worth giving up the guaranteed 3rd land for. That's a really interesting decision, though. That was tough. Ponder. Are we scrambling for a land drop here? They shuffled their library. Moment of truth. Okay. I guess you could play Magic with me. I'm going to fetch and hope to all deities that there are that they don't stifle this, because that would be horrendous. Okay. Thank you, deities. Up the Beanstalks on the stack. Yeah, I was a little worried about them. They might be a Daze deck. So this is shaping up to look like bug beans to me. Like 4-colored beans wouldn't have Daze. I could have just waited, hit my land drop. If this was game 2 and I knew what they were up to, I could have just waited, hit that land drop, and had triple bean instead of double bean. Fetching in response. Okay. We are Rug Delver. Okay, that's fine. They tapped out to flip a Spell Pierce. That's what you get for picking up your land for Daze. Got him. All right. Force of Will, pitching another Daze to that. Okay, that's fine. It was worth 2 cards. The first one I'm a little disappointed about. Second one was a good exchange. And now I know that they are Rug Delver, and my hand is just full of white removal spells, which is what you want in this matchup. Slamming a Murko, Bolo. 3 cards in their hand. Could still be Force Blue card. We've now seen a Spell Pierce. I could just plow this, but I want to save plow for a creature I don't want to bounce. I'm going to play Teferi around Daze and see how this goes for me. If they force, I could even force back, and if this just resolves, which is likely to happen, and it did happen, we just get friggin' paid. Their hand is Murktide and not Force of Will right now. Alright, cool. I wanted to save the plow for this thing, because you don't want to bounce this thing, because then it draws another 2 cards on its adventure. Mishra's Bauble. I do need another land to cast this Solitude and really start getting something going and try to win. I'm pretty far away from losing, though. Teferi's fine. He did his job. I'm not going to force a Lightning Bolt in this position. Okay, there is the land for Solitude. I'm going to save that, though, for when it can't be dazed. Bauble. Not worth a Force of Negation on that, I dare say. I would hardcast Force of Negation onto a Seek the Beast, though, if they do that in my end step. That's worth a bunch of cards. They could have slammed Murktide there and didn't. I am actually going to fetch my planes, because if I draw it, there's no fetchables left for Vista. Brainstorm would have been a non-issue. I think I'm just going to pass here. Hardcast Force is available. We know they're holding Murktide. Hardcast Force of Negation is available if they end step Seek the Beast. I'm at 18 life. It's turn 6. They don't have a creature in play. We're pretty even on resources, though. All right, cool. Got the exchange I was looking for on that one. It is tough to do better than that with a Force of Negation. Game 1 versus Delver. DRC. Okay. You want to play the Murktide too? Give me a 6 Supreme Verdict? Please. I'm asking nicely. Just give it to me. Coward. Boo. Boo. Another Force of Negation in my hand. Yeah, I think I brainstorm here, actually. Like, something like Teferi would be great. I don't want this Force of Negation anymore. Blur and Revealed's great. I don't really want 2 Force of Wills, but I guess I have to redraw some of these anyway. Okay, suddenly a target for Wasteland has emerged on turn 7 of the game. Oh, they got me. Got me good. Okay, well, I know this Solitude is not going to be castable around Daze for the next 3 turns, so I'm just going to get it into play here. Maybe they play Murktide, maybe I draw 3 cards, maybe we're all hanging out, having a good time. Murktide is 5/5, which means Solitude's lifelink on the backswing is worth quite a bit. I'm not just going to immediately Supreme Verdict my own Solitude out of play. Cool. Drawn a lot of forces for this matchup, but like I said in the deck tech, we play a lot of forces. And I did get a good exchange out of at least one of them. A 5/5 Murktide versus the Solitude, they're netting 2 damage per turn, and I'm netting 3. But I started at a lower life total. Delver, please just dump out creatures. Okay. I'll draw for turn. I'm going to attack. They probably don't trade here, and then I just Supreme Verdict all of it. Gain a little pile of life, and then Verdict. Cool. Those are gone. I'm not fetching the Xander's Lounge yet, because I would like to brainstorm away this Flooded Strand in my hand. And I don't want to hang that out if I'm not using it. This Leyline Binding, more white removal. I'm holding 3 answers in my hand to their next 3 things they play. 4 answers in hand. I'm going to play out the other Flooded Strand now. I have enough spells that I might actually need all of this mana, and if I draw Brainstorm, I'm happy to get rid of Force of Negation. But now we're experiencing the other side of being the control deck versus Delver. I have fended them off quite handily up to this point. It's turn 12. I'm still at 16 life. However, they're looking at 6 cards right now. They got a bunch of lands in play. If I can't find a way to turn this around and win, all of this doesn't matter. Brainstorm Shuffle at the end of turn. Dragon's Rage Channeler. That's fine. Maybe I'm supposed to be just Force of Willing these things so I don't have to plow them. But if they fight over this plow, I can force back. There we go. The nuts. This is what I was looking for to really break this thing open. If they can fight over this, they probably should. Triumph. Cool. All right. That's a way to win the game. Happy to spend full price on it at this stage. And now my hand went from 4 answers to 4 cantripping answers. Very different thing. Murktide Regent. I'm going to hardcast a Force on this. I think there's untapped lands left in the deck. Okay, yep, there's a Tundra. Force of Will with the cantrip. Delver of Secrets. You can have that one. You got me good. I will fetch the Xander's Lounge here, because now I'm ready to unload. Triumph. Why am I tapping all this white mana? How much mana do I have? 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, yeah, leave a white up. This Prismatic Vista doesn't get anything right now. Leyline Binding. There's Narset. She's good. Alright, yeah, opponents had quite enough of that. Cool. Alright. We found a matchup where I can hoard out my forces. That's all I've wanted to do this whole league. Carpet of Flowers. Red Blast. Blue Blast. These are all definitely coming in. Lavinia is not without text, but she's also not good. I feel the same way about Veil of Summer and Blood Moon. These are the not happenings, these 5 over here. These are the definitely happenings, and then we have 4 cards that have some use, but aren't actually good. And I could just fully blank my Force of Wills and get 6 sideboard cards in. That does map out beautifully, because basically every other card in my deck I'm pretty happy to have against Delver, except for those 6, and then there's 6 obvious things to bring in. This is a perfect map if this is intentional. And I don't think I want any of this dopey, kind of good, kind of not stuff when I could just only play good cards. Done. Yuck. 1 non-basic land to play the game on. Lauren Revealed's good. I'm going to keep this. I'll take my chances with my 20 land deck. After seeing 5 basics game 1, they might have even boarded out some of their wastelands. They also saw some non-basic lands, so maybe they leave it in. They saw I care about domain, maybe they leave it in for that. But a girl can dream. Yep, no chance. Okay. Cycle Lauren Revealed. And I would like to get probably Volcanic Island. I mean, I don't like playing further into Wasteland. This is a way that I could easily lose a matchup that is probably pretty favored if they just have 2 Wastelands here and I don't play. But I can't afford to get Basic Island that doesn't do anything in my hand. I'm getting aggro here. If they're digging for Wasteland, I don't want them to have it. If they're digging for land, I don't want them to have it. Okay. Come on, deck. Green source. Ponder. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. Lands, 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 lands. Just 3 lands off this ponder. That's where I want to be. Oh, we're both playing this game. Okay, I respect it. I am in a little bit of trouble. Volcanic Island. We knew about that one. Land? Ooh. Ooh. And they just dazed a spell. I'm going to make them have it again. Force of Negation, that cost you 2 cards. Pitching Brazen Borrower, nice. Okay. This is how we grind back. If I can just get a Plains somewhere before they find a Wasteland. Actually, if I just draw Plains anyway. But the problem with Wasteland is it cuts off Pyroblast entirely. And it cuts off cantrips as good draws. But anything that fetches up Plains is insane here. And buys me a lot of time. And that force pitching Brazen Borrower is particularly useful because I'm holding Murktide Regent, for which Brazen Borrower is one of the best answers. Another one. Here we go. You had to force the last one. No, they found a Daze. Bummer. Okay. Okay. So that's what they found last turn. Between their draw step and ponder, Daze was what they came up with. Lingus for... Nope, can't even Lingus for 0. Can't even make that joke. Don't have white mana. Okay, we're both just drawing cards here. I haven't been wastelanded yet. B-Storm. Get me out of this. We've seen Spell Pierce in their deck. We have not seen Black for Bowmaster. I'd be surprised if they have that. I wouldn't be surprised if they have Pyroblast, and they do. Okay, they're cracking their Polluted Delta here. I'm ready for Murktide Regent. I have Pyroblast, and they haven't wasted it yet. They have cast a lot of... Alright, I'm going to Pyroblast this. Well, okay. If I ponder into a white source, then I don't need to Pyroblast this. I'm going to ponder, actually. I can take 8 if this fails. This looks like Pyroblast. Okay, yeah, they're in the hyper aggro space. And if they draw Wasteland right now, this is going to be a huge punish. But I don't regret trying to find white there. Uh-oh. Now I have 2 answers to Murktide. And my own Murktide. I'm going to Pyroblast on their turn. In your upkeep, destroy target blue permanent. Force of Negation, fetch. Or Savannah, because that's the only fetchable white source I have left. I guess I don't have my own Murktide here. Wow. Wowee, look at you going hellbent to put me to 2. Alright. Game on. Right, I have another Plow, but I'm dead to Bolt from here on out. This is, yeah, this is just probably going to be 1 turn short of doing what I needed to do. I'm actually going to Leyline Bind this rather than Plow it, because if I could Plow one of my own creatures, get out of Bolt range, that's something that could come up later. Moment of truth. They pass the turn. I could just Lingus for 1 here. Yeah, I don't think it's getting better than that. 1 horse. And, like, I don't have to worry about what if they bolt my 1 horse because I'm dead to Bolt anyway. They don't play around things that you can't beat. Okay. Like, end step Brazen Borrower is probably dying to that anyway. Please don't bolt me. I just found Carpet. I could start to unload. What's this? A Murktide? I'd be okay with a Murktide. Yes. Fine. Deal. As long as it's not a bolt. Okay. Carpet of Flowers. I'll start there. Then I have 5 mana. Okay. Second main. I'm going to make white. Yes. Make white. And I'm going to Plow my Knight first to get out of Bolt range, because that's what I'm worried about now. And then I'm going to Supreme Verdict. So now they actually have to have multiple things to beat me. And with Carpet and this grip full of selection and stuff, 4 is so much better than 3. Just this Ponder being 4 looks at lethal versus not being the case. Game changer. Dragon's Rage Channeler is a 1/1. Island. Okay. Yes. And make blue. How do I start this? I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could start with Up the Beanstalk, then play Murktide, which draws a card. And then I still have my land drop available. Oh, another one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. How many do I actually have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the first one should exile 4. And just some other thing. Big Mercs. If they have Force, they have to Force. If they have Pyroblast, they probably have to Pyroblast. An astute gamer would notice that I didn't fully delve this thing, which probably indicates I have another one, or at least another delve thing that I would like to do. And the answer is both. Alrighty, here we go. Bigger, better. Draws a card. Brainstorm. All right, here we go. They are dead on the backswing here. If they double bolt me, they win. Price of Progress wins. Seek the Beast. Okay. Good start, but can't double bolt off one land. They flip Delver and another Questing Druid. This looks good, team. Misty Rainforest. They have one card in hand. It can't be 2 bolts. Those are the rules. I'd call a judge. I just have 20 points of flying in the air here. And none of the cards I could see change that. Pyroblast. Okay. That was, as good as that's going to get. And Delver. All right. So we're continuing to play. They did that all second main, so DRC didn't delete itself. Okay, I'm going to make blue. Yes, blue. Start with Narset because she's cracked. Have a dig. Swords to Plowshares. I like that. And it looks like they're scooping. Yeah, they've had enough. They saw a removal spell and said no thanks. Okay, we lost a quick match 1 to Storm and then beat everyone else. This deck is definitely leaning hard in the direction of beating fair decks. Like the Narsets for the Bean Mirrors, the basics for the Wasteland decks. I felt largely ill-equipped for Dredge, but we navigated it anyway. I felt largely ill-equipped for lands, but we beat it anyway. I did not feel particularly equipped for Storm. And we have 2 Lavinias and a Stony Silence and a Veil, so it's not like we're ice cold, and 6 main deck forces. But very clearly, we did have issues with mana at some points in the game where it's like I fetch around Wasteland game 1 when I don't know I don't need to or not, and then they're just Storm, and then I can't cast Lavinia because I fetched a Forest earlier or whatever. That did come up a couple times. But, I mean, we won a lot more than we lost. So maybe this is balanced perfectly for the expected metagame. And that's the cool thing about Legacy and Magic in general. If you want to lean hard in one direction to really make it difficult to lose to one set of things, you can give it up in other places and use your deck slots to really beat up on somebody. And there is a push and pull, a gain and loss to doing that. And you don't have to beat your deck to beat everyone at all times. No Endurance, no Surgical Extraction, 2 pieces of pseudo Graveyard Hate in Containment Priest and Grafdigger's Cage. That's it in the scam metagame. And we're just out here putting up 4-1s. Pretty cool stuff. Kari-matti, thank you for sharing this. Everyone, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, check out the Patreon, and I'll see you next time.